So, if you have a good idea, how does one bring their idea to market? What would be something, like say I wanted to sell a purse, or I had, some kind of product that I felt that people would want.
Okay.
We have to do the research.
Research. A good place to start is a trade show.
Okay.
You're going to see everything that's out there and soon to be out there at a trade show. They're not cheap to get into usually, but it's a lot cheaper to do that kind of research before you start tooling up for your own production. So I would go to any kind of trade show that has to do with purses, accessories, ladies' clothing, things like that, and see what else is out there and see how your brand fits. When it comes to things like purses, you should also really concentrate on where you're going to fall in that marketplace. People will go out of their way to get the very exclusive purse, the $5,000 Fendi. They'll also go out of their way to get the cheap purse at, say, a Walmart store. People will go out of their way for the extremes of the price points. Right down the middle, though, you have stores that are absolutely fine, but people don't go out of their way for the JCPenney's, the Sears. They're fine establishments, but nobody goes out of their way for the medium. Rhymes with tedium. People would rather get something that's either super cheap and economical or very exclusive. So for a purse, I would decide where you want to be there, because the middle of the road, you're going to have to position yourself with your distribution in such a way where you're all over the place. And that's a harder thing to do than to make the exclusive purse. But the exclusive purse is a harder sell. So it's a balancing act.
And could you tell me more about your background and just how you got into the business and where you're at today, and if you have any books, and also your website and how to get a hold of you?
Well, my background is as a performing musician. Back in the 80s, I was a singer, drummer, and a bass player in many different bands. And during that time, I needed to do something to pay the bills, because I can tell you right now, the music wasn't paying the bills. So I gravitated towards sales. And I did a lot of selling, and I met some interesting people along the way that introduced me to personal development. And I learned about Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins and Earl Nightingale, and Tony Robbins was just getting popular around that time. And it opened up my world to making yourself better than you were destined to be, if you will.
So this is the 60s or the 70s?
This is the 80s.
80s, okay.
But I appreciate you thinking that I was at 90 years old.
This is curious when you said Tony Robbins.
Well, Tony Robbins it started hitting big in '86.
Okay.
So that was 2 years out of high school for me. And so sales was a big part of my background then. I did sales for a long time, inside and out. I did the vacuum cleaners. I did the cars. I did newspaper display advertising, just about any type of selling that you can think of. Discovered really quickly that if you market well enough, selling's a whole lot easier. So I started studying marketing, and about 20 years ago, 15 years ago actually, met some interesting people, and we started my company. BusyBeePromotions.com is how you'd find us, spelled just the way it sounds, BusyBeePromotions. A lot of people think there's a Z in there, it's not. But we combined our skills of marketing and sales on my end with their end, which was more of the promotions, experiential marketing type of thing. And that's how Busy Bee grew. And we were very careful to be super malleable and flexible to the market demands. What we're doing now is nothing we had in mind when we started. If we were only doing what we wanted to do, we'd be out of business. We reacted to market demands, and we scratched the itch that was there. Going back to my initial point, don't try to force feed people with a feeding tube with your product or service. Put the lure temptingly close to the fish's mouth and draw it in. They'll follow the hook. You can't cram it down their mouth. So what we're doing now was just based on what people were asking for on the phone.
So what is your niche then you've actually created?
Busy Bee Promotions is the premier in-store brand building company in the country. We do between 1,500 and 3,000 in-store demos every month across the country, all 50 states. So if a company's in the food and beverage industries, they can get us to cover any store in the country. with a highly qualified, engaging, live human being who will be that face-to-face marketing person for them. That's our niche. That represents the majority of our business, is that in-store environment.
How much of an increase could a business see with that type of promotion?
Huge. It's absolutely staggeringly huge. If you put yourself in a store right now in your imagination, you're going down an aisle with a grocery cart. Each aisle's got close to 1,000 different things in it. Nothing's jumping out of those shelves into your cart. Unless you see some really engaging, attractive packaging that somehow catches your eye and then decide, well, I'm going to try this, it looks good, and put it in your cart, you're not buying it. If it's not on your list, you're not buying it. But if you go down that same aisle and there's a very friendly, engaging person with some free samples, would you like to try this? Boom, boom, boom. You try it, it's awesome, you buy some. The results are generally a conversion rate of 40%. 40% of the people who try will buy, which is one of the highest conversion rates of any kind of advertising, if not the highest. Generally, a company will see between a 50 and 70% increase in sales residually the month after a demo because people keep buying. We have clients that we have sold $100,000 worth of product every month for the last 3 months. The numbers are big, and if you put a person in the store, you will clear the shelves. Companies have to be really cognizant of how fast their merchandise is moving as well, because if they don't sell, the store gets that shelf space to somebody else. So that stuff has to move. It's the best way to do it too.
Okay, I see them at Costco, I see them, I'm in Detroit area at Kroger, I'm seeing more and more people with samples. What other areas besides beverage does this work for? Cosmetics?
Cosmetics is a great one. Fragrances are the first one to come to mind because that's an easy one. Cosmetics, you have to have a little more meaningful discussion and interaction with somebody. They have to sit down, you have to do some stuff with them, so it takes a little more time. But if the people are looking for something super powerful, it also goes to just the retail environment in general. Being a man shopping at Men's Warehouse, I bought this at Men's Warehouse. The reason I like that store is because they don't just say, may I help you, or can I help you find something? They look at you and they start bringing you things. They'll put it on the table, and instead of saying, do you want help, or do you want a suit, or do you want a tie, they say, which tie would you like? And they put out all the ties, so they're really marketing in the store in such a way that gives the consumer a lot of choices. And they really know their stuff. Every store could do something like that, but they don't. Stores like Men's Warehouse just knock it out of the park, and I end up buying most of my clothes there.
So then service, that seems to be key for a business, not just the marketing and the sales, but it's the service.
Well, that's part of that face-to-face interaction too. Everything's marketing. Always be marketing to ABM. The people who answer the phone at your business are marketing. The people who are in the service department are marketing. If the experience is a good one for the consumer every step of the way, they're all marketing to the consumer, and the consumer remembers that and will keep giving their business to those companies that treat them with that type of high-level, high-touch service.
Now, when you were talking, I was thinking experience also. And like I know, if I go to Nordstrom's, they're gonna bend over backwards. They will ship my shoes to the house for free. Hey, if you've got a card, come on over here, we'll swipe it, you're out the door, you don't have to stand in line. So if a business wants to be successful today, what other ideas can you offer them to retain customers? Because it's one thing to get them, but most businesses spend their money chasing after new customers rather than growing their existing customers.
Right. You just brought up a great example of the old adage that it costs 6 times more to get a new customer than it does to keep a happy one. A really good friend of mine wrote a book. His name is Dave LaRue, and the book is called Live to Tell Your Story. And one of the stories he talks about is a gentleman went to a funeral of a man who was the head of a company, And his insurance salesperson, man, was there, bawling, crying. He was very sad, but seemed to be more sad than just a friend or an acquaintance, business acquaintance. He was crying like he lost somebody in his family. And it turned out that this man learned a very important lesson about taking care of what you have. And he tried for a long time to get this man's business, and he wouldn't give him the business, and he found out why. It was because he didn't polish his shoes enough. And the gentleman who had passed away said, if you don't take care of your shoes, how do I know you're going to take care of me after I give you my business? And the guy was like, oh my God, it never made that connection. If you take care of your shoes, you don't need to buy new ones. You're not always going out to buy new shoes. You're taking care of what you have. And your clients should be the same way. Take care of the ones you have, and you won't need to go finding that greener pasture. Take care of the people you have. They've already raised their hand, said, I like you, I'm opting in, I'm giving you my money, notice me, take care of me, do whatever it takes to make me happy. And that's what you should do, is you put 80% of that effort into your existing clients, 20% into new, and the 80% will in turn give you new in the form of referrals, because a happy customer, and repeat buying, because that's a new customer every time you get a new check. Technically, as far as your ledger is concerned, that's a new customer every time they repeat purchase or have a residual or a continuity purchase into your ledger. That existing customer is a much, much easier person to please because they already have a relationship with you.
Great. Anything else that you'd like to add that I might have not touched upon?
No, I think that's it.
All over the place.
No, I think we covered a lot.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you,
I'm so
Sabah.
glad that you spoke with me. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so glad I got to talk to you.
Good. Pleasure's mine.
Now, will you be here for Rainmaker or any other events?